Hey there, and welcome back to The Explainer. So today we're diving into something really fun. We took this massive, honestly kind of chaotic list of 102 essential general knowledge facts from our source material and completely reorganized it. We've distilled the whole shebang into a streamlined visual journey. Because, this isn't just about regurgitating random trivia at a party, it's about connecting the dots, seeing the bigger picture, and really just becoming a more well-rounded thinker. So, 168. Take a second. Do you know what that number represents? Well, that is the exact number of hours you, me, and everyone else gets in a single week. And it kind of makes you think, right? Out of those 168 hours, how many are we actually spending on expanding our minds? Well, today we're going to make just a few of those hours count in a massive way. Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for today. 1. Science and the natural world. 2. Language, arts, and pop culture. 3. History, geography, and numbers. And finally, 4. The power of general knowledge. All right, kicking things off with Section 1, Science and the Natural World, from atoms to animals. Let's get into it. Let's start by testing an everyday assumption you probably haven't thought about since grade school. Are spiders considered insects? It's a classic biological trick question, and honestly, so many people get this wrong if they aren't paying close attention to the world around them. So the answer? No way. Spiders are actually arachnids. And this brilliantly illustrates the crucial difference. It all comes down to the legs. Insects have 6 legs, while arachnids have 8. Oh, and speaking of insects, our source material threw in this absolutely wild survival fact. A cockroach, which, is a 6-legged insect, can literally live for weeks without its head. I mean, nature is incredibly resourceful, but wow, sometimes it's just plain terrifying. Okay, let's do a quick lightning round and group some essential animal behaviors together to build up that biological vocab. So a marsupial is an animal that carries its young in a pouch. An omnivore, they eat both plants and meat. Hibernation is when animals sleep through the winter. Now, if an animal is active during twilight, the specific word for that is crepuscular. And molting is simply the process of shedding skin. Grouping them together like this just makes the patterns in nature so much easier to remember. Shifting gears here, let's look inward at the human machine. These are the biological functions keeping us running day in and day out. Your larynx is your voice box. Up in your brain, the cerebellum is what's strictly controlling your balance and coordination. Moving down, the kidneys are the organs producing urine. The watery part of your blood, that's plasma. And the main mineral found in your bones, keeping them strong, is calcium. These are literally the foundational building blocks of, well, us. To wrap up our science section, get a load of this incredible biological crossover. Koalas, which, remember from our vocab list, are pouch-carrying marsupials, definitely not bears, actually have fingerprints that are nearly identical to humans. It's one of those crazy facts that bridges the gap right between wild animals and human traits. Moving right along to part 2, language, arts, and pop culture, human expression. Let's start this section with a linguistic classic everyone should recognize, the palindrome. By definition, a palindrome is simply a word that reads the exact same forwards and backwards. It's just a really cool phenomenon that shows off how playful and flexible the English language can be. Now, let's expand on that and see how other word relationships work. We've categorized these to make them super easy to digest. An antonym, that means opposite meaning, like artificial versus natural. A homophone sounds the same but means something different, like the words to and to. A synonym means a similar meaning, think begin and start. An acronym is a word formed from initials, like NASA, and a pun, well, that's just a humorous play on words. Master these, and you've got the mechanics of language on lock. All right, let's pivot to pop culture and the arts. We're going to rapid fire through some legendary creators and their absolute masterpieces. Steven Spielberg, he directed the massive hits Jaws, E.T., and Jurassic Park. Freddie Mercury was the iconic lead singer of Queen. Matt Groening created The Simpsons. Michelangelo famously painted the Sistine Chapel ceiling. And bringing it into the modern avant-garde era, Lady Gaga famously wore a dress made entirely of meat. And hey, before we leave human expression, I absolutely had to include this highly specific psychological term from our source material, coulrophobia, the fear of clowns. Whether you've seen one too many horror movies or you just really avoid the circus, it is a quirky, highly memorable piece of vocabulary that definitely sticks with you. All right, part 3, history, geography, and numbers, our world's constructs. To really grasp our place in time, just look at these massive leaps in human history.
Back in 79 AD, the ancient city of Pompeii was tragically buried by volcanic ash. Jump way forward to 1620, and the Mayflower ship carries pilgrims to America. Then fast forward to July 20, 1969, and we pull off the impossible, the moon landing. It is absolutely wild to see an ancient volcano and astronauts walking on the moon connected on the exact same historical timeline. Pivoting over to global geography for a second, 7,000. That is a staggering number, and it represents the sheer amount of islands that make up the Asian country of the Philippines. When you hear numbers like that, it really puts the vast, sprawling layout of our planet into perspective. And speaking of the globe, the diversity of these locations is just amazing. Australia is actually the flattest continent. South Africa is totally unique because it touches 2 different oceans and has 3 capital cities. Venice, of course, is famous for having canals instead of regular streets. Indonesia, it boasts the most active volcanoes in the entire world, and Singapore stands out as a truly unique Southeast Asian city-state.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how we use completely different scientific scales to measure extreme intensity. On one hand, you have the Scoville scale, which measures the heat of a chili pepper, and on the other, the Fujita scale, which measures the devastating intensity of a tornado. It's just fascinating how we've created these specific, human-made scales to categorize totally different types of energy. Speaking of human-made systems, let's decode an ancient mathematical structure you still see all the time today, Roman numerals. These are essential knowledge blocks. L stands for 50, CXI is 111, and M represents 1000. Whether you are checking out a historical document or just trying to read the copyright year at the end of a movie, this is trivia with actual everyday utility. Let's stick with numbers for just one more second. 169, what's special about that? Well, it's the exact answer to 13 multiplied by 13. Having a solid grasp of mental math is a huge pillar of general knowledge. Honestly, memorizing your squares is a real game changer for keeping your brain sharp and agile. And that brings us to part 4, the power of general knowledge, why these facts matter. See, collecting all these diverse facts doesn't just make you the star of your local trivia night. It makes you a more adaptable, well-rounded thinker. It helps you spot patterns across entirely different disciplines. The key is just to stay curious. So, to reward that curiosity today, here is one last super surprising science fact. The letter J is the absolute only letter in the English alphabet not used in the periodic table of elements. Not a single J in the whole thing. No way, right? So, that brings us to our final big question. Out of the 102 essential facts from our source material that inspired today's explainer, how many did you actually know? Take a second to reflect on your own knowledge gaps, and hey, don't view them as a bad thing. Think of them as an enthusiastic invitation to just keep learning, keep exploring, keep collecting facts, and I will see you in the next explainer.